afternoon. Welcome to the first edition of Have a Beer with Wayne. I thought maybe since we're on lockdown, this might be kind of a fun thing for you to look at, other than no reruns of whatever shows out there. So anyway, today we're going to talk about Blonde Bombshell. It's one of our favorite beers here at the pub. We make that in rotation pretty often. People come in and ask me a lot of times, they go, "Oh, are you the brewmaster?" And I don't consider myself a brewmaster. That would be someone that would be capable of spitting out stats and figures and things on formulas and beer and hops and yeast and all that from the top of their head. Myself, people ask me, "Well, what'd you make this week?" And I'll go, "I don't remember. I have to go look at my calendar." So let alone to remember what kind of hops go in a particular beer, or what a particular Dusseldorf style of beer is, or whatever. The beers we make here, they all fall into different styles that we get from the judge's guide. Let's see what it has to say about our Blonde Bombshell. That falls into a blonde ale category. They usually give you some descriptions and parameters for all the various beer styles. Blonde Bombshell being, it falls into the golden blonde ale category. It says here that the color should be straw to light amber. I think we got that pretty good. It's a nice straw colored yellow beer. Clarity should be nice and clear. Chill haze should not be present. Chill haze is something that's coagulation of proteins in the beer. We don't get that. We don't have any of that in there, so it's nice and clear. Perceived malt aroma and flavor. It says it should be a light malt sweetness. Should be perceived in the flavor. So, yep, we got that light. It's just a nice light malty sweetness in there. Not real crazy hoppy. Which the next one is the perceived hop aroma and flavor. It says here the hop aroma and flavor should be low to medium low, present but not dominant. Well, we have that. You smell just a little bit of the hops in there. It has that just a little bit of hoppiness and a little bit of bitterness, which you want to offset the sweetness of all the malt sugar, but not dominant. We're not making an IPA here, so it comes across pretty nice, I think. The perceived bitterness should be low to medium. We have that. When people come in and say, "Well, I don't want a bitter beer," and we have Hop Mama on, it's like, Hop Mama's your girl. Fermentation characteristics. Those are things that happen in the big containers back there when the yeast is doing its thing, kicking out that alcohol and CO2. It should have fruity esters, may be perceived, but at low levels. You know, we're looking for just a nice, clean, crisp beer here. Nothing too fruity or crazy. Some of the off flavors they talk about, diacetyl and DMS, that should be not perceived. It should be a nice, clean beer. So what is diacetyl? Well, you know, I ought to be able to just whip that out and tell you, but we'll go with some cheat sheets here on. There's at least 18 different off flavors in beer. They can range from some might taste like a plastic Band-Aid taste, medicinal type alcohol flavors, green apple, butterscotch. A lot of these are off flavors. You've probably tasted some of those at some of the breweries we go to. You get a flight. More times than not, it seems like, you know, there will be a beer there that you'll go, "Wow, you know, there's something's in there, you know, don't care for." Well, the off flavors here, the diacetyl, it's perceived as a buttery, milky, oily, can leave a little slickness on your tongue, kind of like a movie theater popcorn type flavor. You don't want any of that in there. That's never a good thing in any beer, let alone just the blonde ales. The other DMS, that's dimethyl sulfide. It's a compound that some grains, particularly like the Pilsen grains, have a tendency to put more of that out. And there is a lot of Pilsen malt in this beer because it's a light grain, and we're making a light beer. That DMS, it has a sweet corn, kind of a cream corn or cabbage, cooked vegetable kind of a flavor to it. And I pick it up mostly in a smell, but it has that. So when you're tasting beer, take a drink of it, swish it around your mouth, and then just as you swallow it, exhale out through your nose. And if there's off flavors in the beer, you'll pick those up real fast because your sinuses have a lot of real sensitive receptors in there that'll pick up all those off flavors. And so if you go into a brewery, you want to know how good how they brew their beer, get a light beer. Get a cream ale, blonde ale, Kolsch, any of those light beers. Drink that. Exhale through your nose. You'll pick up some flavors, aromas. If they're all pleasant, you know, you're good. If they don't make a really good blonde type ale, there's nothing to hide behind with these babies. So it kind of tells you how they're doing. The judge's guide gives y'all some quantitative parameters for the various beer styles. We'll just kind of run through that quick. The original gravity, that is a measure we take with a hydrometer. When we brew the beer up and it goes into the fermenter, we'll drop a hydrometer in a test sample, and that gives us an idea how much fermentable sugars are in the beer. And so with this type beer here, the original gravity ought to be in a range of 1.045 to a 1.054. Our beer here, this one here particularly came out just a little bit on the heavy side. It was 0.057, so that's going to end up giving you a little bit more alcohol in the end. Our beers here at the pub tend to be on the high side. I run through a beer program when I come up with my recipes, but some days, more days than not, seems like our efficiency is a little higher than the program is set up for. So you usually get a little more alcohol here for our beers than you pay for. So you get its bargain. Then the beers finish up at a final gravity, and that should be down there somewhere around 1.08 to 0.16. Ours came out at 1.013, so we're right in the ballpark. And since we started a little bit high, finished in the ballpark at the end, that gives us a little more alcohol. And ours comes out, this one here was about 5.3, which the alcohol by volume on the blondes usually run 4.1 to 5.1. And so once again, it's kind of get a bargain here. Hop bitterness, which I use, sometimes you hear people chatting about. That's kind of subjective, it's kind of quantitative, but with all these New England style juicy IPAs coming out, they can be full of hops, but yet the bitterness is low on them. So personally, I think that whoever it is out there needs to come up with maybe a little better bitterness scale or hoppiness scale. But anyway, their recommended hop IBUs for a blonde ale is 15 to 25. Our blonde bombshell here, we use a combination of Citra, Cascade, and this one here I actually use some Apollo hops in it for the bitterness. And our IBUs came out at 16.7. So towards the low end of the scale. We did massage it down from the original recipe because people thought it was just a tad bitter, and we are in kind of that light beer crowd around the area, so we wanted to try to make them something they'd appreciate a little bit better. And a people have asked me, well, when did you start making the Blonde Bombshell? And it's like, well, this was our 13th beer. Back about 6-7 years ago, 2013, I guess. We started brewing on our farm to formulate recipes and see what we came up with, see if it was any good, see if anybody wanted it, liked it, if we could get rid of it, other than free. So we made the Blonde Bombshell to fit into that light beer. And it took a couple times. The first batch or two came out corny. We had that DMS that's very prevalent in the light beers. And it took a few times to figure that out, get a good hot, extra long boil, got rid of that. Now she's a fine beer, good enough that we bottle it fairly regularly, at least when we have it. And the SRM, there's a color code. Standard research method. Some long time ago, once again, I'm not a brewmaster, can't tell you who exactly, when, where, or how, but a group of brewers came up with a color code system. I believe it runs from 1 to about 50, 1 being the lightest, 50 being the darkest, so your stouts and all run into that black, dark end of it. The color code here recommendation is 3 to 7. Our blonde girl here, she comes in at 4.47. So once again, right in the ballpark. I usually kind of run our beer styles through the judge's guide, see what their recommendations are, and then we play with the grains and the malts to come up with the colors and the flavors. Various hops we use in them to fit the style of beer we're making. So, once again, Blonde Bombshell, do have that available in bottles. It's one of my favorite beers to make. It's nice. It's a challenge every time because it's nice and clean, nothing to hide behind. So I hope you enjoy it. Hope you came in ahead of time, stocked up on a little bit of good beer to get you through these times right now. But stay tuned for next week. Maybe we'll hit something else up. Cheers.